Hey, this is Cameron Brain with the Social at Scale podcast. I am the CEO and co-founder of Everyone Social. For this episode, I want to talk about executives' use of social. It's, I think, a very important thing, a very interesting thing. If you are someone who is responsible for an employee influencer, employee advocacy program at your organization, if you're thinking about it, if you're just thinking about how can we as a company get more serious about our own use of social, I can tell you that one of the absolute key ingredients to creating a truly social organization is having leadership involved and not just simply supporters of, whatever it is you're doing or trying to do, but as active participants. And fortunately, things have improved massively over the last 5 years. I remember the days in talking with executives at very recognizable companies when talking about social, their response would be something along the lines of, "Well, that's what my kids do. I don't really understand why I would be devoting any time to that." And we are in a totally different world at this point, and fortunately, most executives understand that. But I recently wrote a blog post on this topic, and I wanted to kind of talk through the main points because, again, if social is important to you, your team, your organization, if you want it to be more important, understanding how to get your executives involved and participating is really the difference between creating something that produces some marginal benefit versus something that can really kind of light things on fire for your organization. So first off, what do executives care about? I think in order to, think about why someone should participate in something, we got to understand, what makes them go. What are they looking for? And the higher you get from an executive perspective, really the number one responsibility is for them to increase a company's value. If we think about our C-level leadership at our organization, their number one goal is to drive enterprise value, right? To have all of our shareholders be gaining as much value on a per share basis, the overall value of the company, to be increasing that as much as possible. And, the fact of the matter is that executives really rely heavily on other people to do the work. So a big part of, how executives think about where they want to put their time and attention as it relates to increasing company's value is really about what they choose to support. So I think that's a kind of a twofold thing. One, what do executives care about? And the other thing is just keeping in mind that their currency is really about what they support. And you and your initiative around social is, potentially going to be something that they're going to be thinking about, should I support or not? What do executives not care about? They don't care about things that are small, that don't create value, that don't move the needle, that can't be scaled, that aren't ambitious. They simply don't have the time to support those kind of things. Average tenure of an executive in particular a higher performing company is relatively short, on typically kind of on the order of, a year or two often. And, they need to come in and make an impact. And, there's only so many hours in the day, no matter how hard they work, no matter how hard they push the people around them to work, you have to know what to focus on. And for them, anything that sits outside, a significant potential impact on the organization just isn't something that they're going to care about. I think as it relates to a social program inside a company, this is why, we as Everyone Social, when we first kind of conceived of this business, we didn't want to focus on some little slice of people within the organization and say, what, we're going to develop social tools just for this little group, to leverage social at work. Our view has always been that our aspiration is to activate every single employee within any one of our clients, because everyone has a network, everyone has the opportunity to contribute, to benefit. And, I think that's the level of scale that you should be thinking about as it relates to your own initiative, and something that I think, again, kind of hits the bar for an executive of going, oh yeah, all right, this is something that we can get, everyone in the company involved with in some way, shape, or form. So why should executives support employee influencers? And And why should they support social in general? I will caveat this with any day of the week, you're going to find a more receptive audience with an executive who is already in some way, shape, or form using social versus one who is not. I just don't think you can really understand, what the value and the opportunity and the potential is if you're not already kind of in the game, so to speak. And, I think it's really interesting to look at some CEOs and what they've been able to do. So if we go back to the kind of number one goal of any senior level executive being increasing the value of their organization, like literally the dollar value of it, there are so many examples of public examples, very obvious examples of executives who've leveraged social to grow the value of their organizations by, in some cases, hundreds of billions of dollars. I'm going to use the most extreme example, and then maybe I'll use one or two others that are, less obvious. So the most extreme example has to be Elon Musk. And I don't think anyone should look at Elon Musk. I don't think any executive should look at Elon Musk and go, well, he's doing it right, and I need to emulate how he's doing it. I think, everyone needs to be authentic. They need to approach it in a way that's appropriate for them, their organization, industry, et cetera. I guess you can do things and say certain things, if you're the richest guy in the world and changing various industries and whatnot. He does it the way he does it because that's how he thinks he should do it. But, the point is if you look at SpaceX or you look at Tesla, which I think Tesla at one time was close to being one of the most valuable organizations in the world, if not at least in the top 3 or 5. And even today, it's still worth, hundreds of billions of dollars. What would Tesla's value be if Elon had never been on social or never had access to social? And, I would even posit, would Tesla even exist if Elon hadn't been on social? I think the two kind of go hand in hand. But, the fact of the matter is, at least to my knowledge, Tesla throughout its history has never spent any money on marketing. When was the last time you opened a magazine and saw a Tesla ad or a Tesla banner when you're cruising around the internet or, whatever else? They simply haven't done any of that. And the ability for Elon to leverage social to push his message, create awareness, connect with the community of Tesla owners and fans, which are, of course, intense and numerous, has literally driven that organization to be worth what many other people would be considered many, many, many times more than what it should be worth. So the most extreme example goes to Elon Musk. There's a few others, though, that I'd like to just call out. One is one of our clients, T-Mobile. When we started working with T-Mobile, their CEO was John Ledger. And I don't think John's really a household name, at least certainly to the degree of Elon, but a really, really interesting guy, an interesting approach. John used to wear a suit. He was, I think, CEO of WorldCom or something, one of those, I think, potentially disastrous telecommunication companies. And then he later in life became CEO of T-Mobile. And I mean, I think I don't know John personally, and I don't know a whole lot of detail about kind of his inner workings and life and whatnot. But it seems to me like he basically had a reawakening and fully embraced social as a means to connect with not only employees, but also customers. And T-Mobile is a very interesting company. You can walk into a T-Mobile store and I'll tell you that what people wear inside of a T-Mobile store, those retail store workers, what they say, how they discuss T-Mobile and so forth is virtually identical to what you would hear from folks at HQ or at a customer care center. And we've had the opportunity to interact with folks in kind of all 3 of those units of their business. They all wear magenta, which is the T-Mobile color. And, this idea of the uncarrier, which is really kind of their brand tagline, I guess you could say, is just 100% embodied by John. Look up a video of John and, you're going to see a effusive, exuberant guy with a mullet wearing T-Mobile gear, talking about all the cool things that are going on. He also kind of took a big step sideways, and he has an interest in slow cookers, which I think the history there is, he travels a lot, obviously, for business. And I think it was just a convenient way for him to kind of stay healthy on the road. So he decided, why not launch a Instagram and YouTube show called Slow Cooker Sunday. And he also put out a cookbook about slow cooking. So, it's, in addition to that, I think he's got almost 6 million Twitter followers. The slow cooker videos received over 3 million views a week. So John, he's not Elon. He didn't start T-Mobile. And it almost doesn't matter what his background was, because if you looked into his background, you'd see someone who earlier in life looked very different than, what he does today or how he does today. But, he saw the light as it relates to social. And not only did, he create, I think, tremendous value for T-Mobile. I think when he took over as a company, they were valued at 26 billion. He came over as CEO in 2012. When he departed in 2020, the company was valued at 98 billion. He also helped to successfully complete a giant merger with Sprint. And on an internal basis, from our end, working with the team at T-Mobile, who is responsible for their employee social program, John being out there publicly, wearing the gear, talking the talk, using social, creating content, not being afraid to, look silly or say something that was unpolished, that gave a giant green light to everyone else in the organization. And I think it's part of the reason why, trust amongst team members at T-Mobile, and in particular in leadership's trust of everyone else and them using social on the job as a customer care center worker or someone in retail or also someone at HQ is just tremendous. They have a high flying program, not in total because of John, but John as a senior level executive definitely showed the way and gave everyone a green light, in addition to creating tremendous value himself. So that's the other example I'll give. There are plenty of others. We have one client in particular I'll give a shout out to, Jed Ayers, CEO of iGel. I'm guessing a company you've never heard of. I'm guessing you may not have heard of Jed before. That's totally fine. He has created employee social programs at, I think, the last 4 or 5 companies he's been at. All of those companies have achieved successful exits. He's chosen Everyone Social as his platform, as his activation platform at each of those companies. And Jed had to say this as it relates to social and executives, quote, "If you haven't embraced employee influencers, you're missing the opportunity to get everyone in your company engaged in your mission. You're missing out on the revolution and impact social tools can have on your business. As a former CMO and now CEO of a global software company, Everyone Social has been my secret weapon to help us elevate our brand and drive double and triple digit growth." At some point, I'd like to have Jed on the podcast to get some more from him. But so these are some of the reasons. And again, hopefully you have executives within your organization, now that we're in the year 2022, who are already active on social. They already understand these things. And I think what we see more and more is they are just ready and waiting to support ambitious, large-scale employee social, employee activation programs. And, as with most things, again, their currency being support, they just simply need someone to know that that's who's going to drive it, who's going to own it, and who they have faith in. And, that may be you, that may be someone who reports to you or a member of your team. So, some thoughts on executive social. Again, I think that they are critical to driving a successful social program, to creating a successfully social organization. There's no real magic wand. I think, there are still executives out there who just have not seen the light. They're not active on social themselves. They don't see it as being a priority. But increasingly, we've seen that, times have changed. More and more executives are in the camp of, this is important, let's go. This is a giant opportunity for us, and are primed to support initiatives around activating employees at your organization to more leverage social at work. So I'll link to the podcast here in the notes below. And thanks for your time. Look forward to seeing you on our next episode.